Good morning, everyone. It's Danielle with Northlawn Flower Farms. I am so excited to have you here in the garden with me today for the May garden tour. This is my first time ever showing you my garden in May, and I think it might be my favorite month. Oh, who am I kidding? I love all the months. But I can't wait to show you everything that's growing. So let's go to the entrance of the garden, and I hope that you'll just imagine that you're here visiting me in person and that we're walking around the garden together, just as if we were side by side. Let's do it. So this is the main entrance to the garden when you pull into the driveway and park. And the 9-bark is just looking really, really beautiful. It's just starting to bloom. I used some of this in an arrangement the other day, and I'm just always reminded of how well 9-barks perform in the vase. It's just such a winner, and the color on a shrub, you just can't beat it. So we have that 9-bark there. Underneath we have lamb's ear, which transitions to sage. And then not yet blooming is feverfew, which I really love to use in arrangements. It's a wonderful filler, and I think it has a nice smell also. And you know, some daylilies back there. Actually, should we just go down this side of the garden to start? This tree here is, I think it's only about 3 years old, and it's a service berry. And it gets berries that taste just like blueberries, and beautiful flowers really early in the spring. And just so you know, I'm here gardening in zone 6B on half an acre, and I do sell cut flowers here at our stand. In the past, I've also sold to florists, and you'll see my garden, while I did grow in the big long rows that you'll see some other farmers growing on, I've transitioned over the years to putting the cut flowers just all over the place. And someone asked me why I chose to do that, and I think it's just because we live here and half an acre is really not that much when you're growing cut flowers. So I really wanted something that, as a family gathering in this space, didn't feel too much like work all the time. I wanted it to feel peaceful and joyful and therapeutic. So for me, putting cut flowers in the border and selecting plants always specifically as a good cut, it's kind of where I landed my 4th year into this cut flower gardening journey. So here's some straw flowers that I planted from seed. And you might have seen these straw flowers in the hardening off video I did all the way back in March. They've been outside for a really long time. I've been trialing them as a cool flower, and I would say yes, they are a cool flower here in zone 6B. They took a frost and freeze just fine. Now here's what I was waiting for to pop to film this tour, is the Festiva Maxima peony. And I certainly wish that we had smell-o-vision, because of course they smell absolutely divine. Is there anything more glorious than a peony? Here's kind of the stage that I would pick them in for the stand. But man, the peony just, I think it just knocks your sock off, doesn't it? And if you have a peony that maybe hasn't been blooming, it could be not enough sun, the tubers are planted too low, or it could also be that it is time to divide it. You do usually want to divide peonies about every 7 to 8 years. Oh dear, I have a Pyrrhus buried way down in there, but once I harvest this peonies, it'll get enough sun and airflow. Now, along all these teepee trellises that I have are sweet peas. This year I'm growing Queen of the Nile and Blue Celeste by Renee's Seed, and I'm really excited to see those grow. I'm just tying them up and getting them started on their journey. Some mums. Here's the first limelight hydrangea of many on our tour. And then back here we have some beautiful Siberian Iris. And I love adding the addition of these into an arrangement. And if I put these at the farm stand, I like to cut them, I hope we're staying in focus, I like to cut them like this. See how it's almost about to open, but definitely not open yet. It's not a long-lasting cut flower, but I think it's something nice where they buy it and they don't really know what's in there, and then, you know, the next day they wake up and it's open. Isn't that a wonderful, you know, little surprise you can give to a customer? Down here we have lemon jade sedum, which is absolutely fabulous. If you don't care for the autumn joy sedum, maybe try lemon joy sedum. It doesn't get as big. In my experience, it hasn't had any issue flopping, and it just stays a beautiful chartreuse green, and it never goes pink like most of the other varieties. You know, look at this. I feel like I shouldn't even talk. They're so pretty. In front of this peony is little goblin guy Winterberry. Oh wait, sorry, not the guy. This is little goblin orange Winterberry, and I have the guy buried kind of back there where you can't see him. Because hey, he's not as pretty as the ladies. More sweet peas. I see a weed back there. That's the way it goes around here. And oh, this is really fun if you've never grown this before and you're into doing dried flowers. This is called Mexican bush sage, and it is going to get really big by the end of the season. I'm gonna think about this a second. I feel like maybe it blooms not until September. These beautiful blue spikes, almost looking like a salvia, but very velvety, very fragrant, and it dries stunning. Just absolutely beautiful. And also, you know, in September, how valuable to have that tall purple in the garden. So I have 2 of these. I might pick up a few more. Here I have a Nicotiana, and you'll see I seeded in some peach melba nasturtiums. I just saw the seeds and I thought they looked really pretty, and I wanted to try to work those into some arrangements this year. Why do I always forget the name of this evergreen? I'll either put it on the screen or I'll put it in the description section, because I always look it up right before tours and I always forget what it is called. But I think this is the 3rd year for this tree here in the garden. And if this is the first time you're ever joining me for a tour, just so you know, my garden now is 4 years old. None of these plants or garden beds were here when we moved in. They're all, everything's between 1 and 4 years old. So we can just continue on over here, you know, more peach melba nasturtiums, and they mulch just very, very sparingly because you have a lot of seeds that haven't even sprouted yet. I've got some lilies in there, and back there I have a yellow loose strife. Here I have one of my all-time favorite hydrangeas, a wonderful landscape plant, and also a wonderful cut flower, and also a wonderful dried flower. And it's called Invincible Spirit too. And Proven Winners donates, I believe, $1 for every one of these shrubs purchased. And this is its 3rd year in the garden. Judging from what they say on the website, how big they get, I feel like this is at maturity now. So, beautiful, smooth hydrangea. Now back here is a little bit wonky. I'm a little bit embarrassed to show you this. It's kind of where all my leftovers go. But I've got Tuleatris there, some gladiolas. All in the front I have seeded calendula. This is a lace cap hydrangea. I want to say it's like a Haas Halo hydrangea, but I bought it probably 3 or 4 years ago and I didn't keep the tag. And it was super, super little when I bought it, you know, in like a quart can. And here it is 3 or 4 years later, you know, at maturity. And I need to pull it away from the garage. It's too close to it now. I'll do that next year. But you can kind of see the menagerie of seeds I've thrown in here. This is comfrey, and you can make a wonderful compost tea out of comfrey. Maybe I'll make a video on that for you. And a Crape Myrtle, which sometimes dies back to the ground here in 6B, but this year Oh, such a mild winter, you know? I really didn't lose anything, and a lot of things that I cut back, I kind of regret cutting them back, to be honest with you. Because you'll see even my Vitex, imagine if I wouldn't have cut it back and left it at its probably 4.5 feet stature. I would have been enjoying 4.5 feet of it right now instead of 6 inches of it, but you just never know. Okay, so back at the main entrance, we can go along the right side of the border now. So I have a hedge of a forgotten sage here, and I have my pink bachelor's buttons. Here I have catmint, and I really love that purple color. And quite frankly, catmint makes a terrible cut flower. It does this weird kind of bending thing. I wouldn't even say it bends toward the light. It just kind of bends any way it wants to, and it just kind of falls to pieces. So I don't cut it anymore, but it's so beautiful in the garden. Back here I have the Foxglove, which if you watch the tour back in, let's see, March, these were already in here, and now they're starting to form their stalks, and it's so exciting. I just can't wait to see them. These are Foxy Foxglove, which bloom their first season. Not a biennial, but you know, flowering the first season. And back there I have a Firelight Hydrangea. And if you can see back behind the teepee there, I have two Kilimanjaro viburnums, a type of double file viburnum, which is a wonderful cut. Any kind of double file viburnum, in my experience at least, is a great cut. Foliage, flowering, mainly foliage. You really got to get that flower right at the exact right time. I seeded some more larkspur in here, so that'll be blooming in a while. There's some other things back there, like some black raspberries that want to live back there, and I'm going to let them, and some bleeding heart and such. Have a gold mound spirea here, obedient plant in the back, and some Steeplechase Arborvitae, which are starting to really get to a nice size now. And I prefer things like the Steeplechase over, what's it called, the green giant. Anything that grows super, super quick like a green giant or a Leyland cypress, I kind of try to stay away from those. When it grows really big and really fast, it kind of means that the root system is not as strong. But the Steeplechase, you got to be more patient, but I really like their upright form. And they only grow, I think, about 15 by 10, which is exactly what I wanted. So we've got a lot of grasses throughout the garden. This is a summer wine black 9-bark. I have some cone flowers down here, some echinacea, which I've recently divided, so it's still, you know, it was a little bit, took it a little hard when I divided it, but it's going to be fine. And some oregano down under there. And here's another limelight. I believe this limelight now is 3 years old, and I think it just really, really loves this spot. I'll show you one limelight that I brought over from our other property that's 6 years old. They're really about the same size at this point. And I cut really heavily on all these limelights. They make great cuts. Down here, just some salvia. And look at this. Okay, let me get this in really good focus for you. Look at this Madame Butterfly Snapdragon. This is from last year. And this is not the Snapdragon reseeding itself. This is the actual plant that was here last year. See how mild of a winter it was. It just came back to life from its actual plant. And the stalk is so thick. I mean, it's just amazing, the performance, that I am going to leave all my Snapdragons in the ground this year. And I'm just going to cut them back really heavily and maybe mulch them up with leaves and see what happens, because this is way better than they ever were last year. And can you understand how I'm just kicking myself for pulling out all the other ones? Because I had about, I mean, I'm thinking at least 50 plants I had, and I pulled them all out. Well, live and learn. And you know, if we would have got a really crazy winter like normal, that probably wouldn't have survived. But I think it's worth the chance. You know, and actually I was talking to an Amish lady at the nursery the other day, and she was telling me that her Lysianthus comes back. which for Lisianthus, which, you know, takes forever to get started and get going, I'm going to try that with those also, which you'll see here at the end of this border. So anything back there? Oh, I've made some progress on the makeshift wattle fence, and now I've also added the addition of forsythia that I've been propagating all along that fence line, mainly because I think it's going to look beautiful, and also because forsythia is personally my favorite foliage cut. This is a Lebanese Elderberry. Underneath that, some lamb's ear, some Coreopteris, some wildberry heucheras that I just moved over here. This is Joe Pye Weed. That's also Joe Pye Weed, and I'm not sure exactly why, honestly, it's not doing as well as the other one. And if you see there, you can see my sweet peas starting to go up the trellis. Very exciting. And back there, please correct me in the comments with a specific name, but it's like it's a very tall coneflower, like a native coneflower. It gets about 5 feet tall. And I'm just drawing a blank on the name of that, but the goldfinches really love it. And it's really fun and different. If you could help me out with the name, I'm just drawing a blank. Somebody asked me the other day what the name of this grass is, and it's a Miscanthus cabaret. Or Cabernet. I'm not really sure. But it's beautiful. And I have 3 of them now, and they're all from divisions of one plant. Now, the Yarrow. The Yarrow has really taken off in just a week. I mean, I think it's grown at least a foot and budded up. So that'll be beautiful, and that's a yellow Yarrow. Underneath, I seeded some Lebanon Mist, which is, you know, really beautiful, great cut flower, beautiful seed pods. And here's my Vitex coming back to life. And I've tried to use Vitex in arrangements before. The foliage seems to flop. Maybe I'll try boiling, putting the stems in boiling water and see if that works. But so far, no luck with the Vitex as a good cut. Now this, you know, is more of our Festiva Maxima peonies. Oh, I just hope this brings you as much joy as it brings to me. And I'm going to be cutting a lot of these guys for the stand today. It's only about 5:30 in the morning now. But I wanted to film this tour for you before I started to cut on these plants. Back there's a old Weigella. That's about 1/3 on my property and 2/3 on my neighbor's property. And it spills over that fence. It's so beautiful. There's a snowball viburnum tucked back in there, just a baby. And here, just coming back to life, is a Winecraft black smoke bush. And you see I've got some of the blue bachelor's buttons kind of traveling back in there. And they're back behind that other Lebanese elderberry as well. Up here are Tiger Day lilies, and here is the Autumn Joy sedum. Here I stuck in some rocket snaps, and there's a boxwood there, and you'll see that that boxwood is not trimmed into any shape, and that's on purpose because I want it as a cut. Down here I have some China Asters. These China Asters I grew from seed, and I think I maybe showed you these in the potting up video. But they're a great cut for later in the season. They bring me a lot of joy, you know, later on, late August. Back here I have a new sunflower for this year, if you can kind of see it, guys. It's called Ruby Eclipse, and I'm really excited to see that bloom, and I'm really happy with the performance of that seed so far. Absolutely fabulous. Back there is the ginger wine 9 bark, and it's about to put on its floral show. It's really beautiful. I don't know, I love all the 9 barks so much, I don't think I can choose a favorite. Not like you asked, but just in case you were wondering. Out in front here is the Dame's Rocket, which some people like to call Sweet Rocket. It does make a nice cut. I didn't cut too heavily from it this spring. And then we have some David's phlox. We have some pink phlox. Here I have a pink bee balm. Another limelight hydrangea. Let's see, what all do I have back in here? I've got some hollyhocks. Some asters, some more sweet peas up that trellis. Did I tell you what kind of sweet pea I'm growing this year? It's called Queen of the Nile and Blue Celeste. I think I might have told you that already. Oh dear, I'm repeating myself. You can see that some other phlox is there. All back in here is Black-Eyed Susan. This is Abelia. Here I have an Annabelle Hydrangea. And it does tend to flop, so if you can get your hands on Incredible instead of Annabelle, I would definitely do that. And it gets those huge white blooms, which are just so stunning. Oh, I have a Lisianthus planted in here, all by the tulips, which I'm still leaving that foliage up for a little bit longer. Gladiolas and poppies, stuck a dahlia in here. This hydrangea is Pinky-Winky Hydrangea, and I just recently moved her over here so she could go ahead and get to her full size. And this is Baby's Breath. And I have had Baby's Breath in the garden before, and it has kind of just disappeared, and I'm not sure why. But I'm going to try it again because I don't know if I'll put it at the stand, but I like to use it on our dried flower Christmas tree. So even if I just keep it for us, it'll bring me a lot of joy. And there is a big hosta that I recently just moved into this area. And, you know, Japanese maple and some other fun things in there. So there is the main garden walk. So let's go see some other gardens now. We can go see my grandma's garden. So here's my grandma's garden. And if you've been watching my channel for a little bit now, you know that this garden is in honor of my grandmother Martha. It's a garden full of white blooms and white foliage, Dusty Miller, Snow in Summer, daisies, Solomon seal, gladiolas, and I stuck also in here some logs from trees that have been on the property. That just felt like something that she would do. And this is the chair that she's welcome to sit at and join me anytime that she wants to in the garden. Moved over some white mums in here. Oh, and I just seeded in some, these are also called Kilimanjaro marigolds. And they're supposed to get tall and be a good cut. So I'm hoping they're a true white and not like one of those weird lemony whites or like a beige white, but we'll see. But just got these seeds from Renee's and excited that they're up now. Just discovered that with you here on our journey. And I see a rogue purple lily in here. My grandfather gave this to me before he passed just last season. He gave it to me and he said it was white. It's purple, so I'll get it out of here in a while. Let me show you just one other thing in here that's not white, but it's so beautiful in the vase. Is mountain laurel when it flowers. It's just starting to kind of, can you see it there? Let me get closer. See, isn't that beautiful? It's almost like a firework. That one over there is starting to open up a little bit more, and it holds well in the vase. These plants, I'm not sure if it's just the plants I have, but they grow, they almost don't grow. They just sit here, and I'm not sure why. If you have mountain laurel and yours is actively growing and getting bigger, please let me know your secret, but I do love that flower. So here we are at the front of the house, and I want to be honest with you all and tell you that I'm really still not happy with the way the front looks. I don't know why it's such a struggle up here. I think too I just don't have the passion for it up here. It's so loud and noisy and so close to the road, and I don't know, I'm just not getting the vision for this area. But I used to have, and sorry, it's gonna get loud because we're on a main road, but I used to have just, you know, the hostas, the rhododendrons, and the creeping phlox. And that was pretty much it. And just early this spring, I moved over two limelight hydrangeas. I moved over this King's Gold false cypress on either side, because once all the hostas die back, it looks like hardly anything's over here. Oh, and this bishop's wheat is just absolutely terrible. I mean, it's just taken over. I don't even know how it got in here. You know, maybe I bought a pot from someone, like an Amish stand, and it had one little piece of it. But be really careful when you are pulling bishop's wheat out. I tend to have a reaction to it. This Queen Elizabeth rose is beautiful. And over here, you know, I have some hydrangea and some quince, and I've seeded a whole bunch of zinnias down this area, but I don't know what to say, but it doesn't bring me joy. So anyway, that probably sounds really silly, and maybe I just need to sit down with pen and paper and just totally rethink this whole front area. And I do like the rhododendrons, I do. And when the hostas look good, they look good, but we had a late frost this year, and now they don't look good. And sometimes, you know, it'll get late in the season and they don't look good, but I suppose now I'm rambling. But I did want to share with you that rhododendrons make an amazing cut flower. And why don't we see these more in arrangements? I have no idea. I've been trialing them at all different stages. First of all, you can pick them. Now, let me see if I can find one for you. See this all budded up here? This actually fully opens in the vase, even attached to another bloom that's already open. I have some inside and they're going up on almost 2 weeks. I've also picked some in this form. That opens up great and holds well. And then I did pick some fully open, like that. And they all look amazing. I was in complete shock because you just don't really see them being used. And I sold some at this stand the other day once I saw how well they held. I'm definitely going to sell more of them from now on. This is where I moved the big hosta from. So here I have some white gladiolas coming up, and this blank area will soon fill in with luminessa and envy zinnia. So now we can move over to the driveway garden. And I have more straw flowers in that box. I think the driveway garden is really starting to look good. And give it 1 more week, maybe 1.5 more weeks. This larkspur will be blooming and it will really be a showstopper. I just recently showed this garden bed probably just a week ago, so I don't think I'll bore you because not too much has changed. Just probably these irises have bloomed since we saw them last. But I want to show you this Kusa dogwood tree that's just starting to come into flower. And what a showstopper she is. I think it's my favorite tree. I don't know, that's too hard to decide. But she's beautiful nonetheless. This area is not mulched yet and a little bit weedy, and that's because I'm growing for the first time ever lambada, which is a annual bee balm, which supposedly makes a great cut flower. And they said it gets really big really fast, so I kind of wanted to wait on putting any mulch down there. This is a Pearl Glam Beauty Berry, and this is my strawberry Sundae hydrangea, strawberry vanilla hydrangea. But you know, it's the one that kind of is pink at the base and then comes out to white. And I can't wait to show you this property once all the hydrangeas get blooming. Hydrangea is definitely my favorite flower by far. And back here I seeded some Tithonia, which has really started to take off. So we'll have all that Tithonia back there. Pretty soon we're going to have the lilies, another Kilimanjaro viburnum. But let me just give you a quick pan of this. And that fig's coming back to life too. Chicago fig is really great in our area. So now let me take you back to the fruit tree walk. So as you pull into the driveway, and if you pull into this spot, You will be greeted with some lemon balm and some ferns and my all-time favorite rose, which unfortunately I'm dealing with black spot on it. Yeah, I don't know the variety of this rose. It was here when we got here, but the smell is absolutely amazing. So I'm treating it with a baking soda mixture, and you can get it under control, but it's not going to change the leaf. Does that make sense? In other words, it will control it, but this leaf will never go back to normal. And that's unfortunate, but I just need to keep it cleaner over here, treat it all season long, and hopefully next season I won't have a problem with it. But so if you pull into the driveway this way, you're going to be greeted with our kind of fruit tree area. And we had a really late frost, and my husband and I were really worried that we might have lost our crop, but all is well. Things are on the up and up. So this first one here is Summer Rambo. Here are our Cortland apples, and let me show you Pink Lady. And here is just a stunner of an apple, the Pink Lady, and she is pink when you cut her open. Absolutely amazing. These fruit trees are the main reason we bought this property. This next tree here is Mcintosh. And as I tell you the names of these, I did not plant these trees. I'm just doing my best to bring them back to life. So I'm telling you my best educated guess on these trees, and have consulted with some other Amish farmers about the leaf and the fruit and what do they think. Now let me show you the cherries. The cherries are looking really good this year. Oh, you know, I think actually the birds might be eating on them already. Oh man, we might have to think about throwing some netting on these trees. And the last fruit that we have on our property here is these black raspberries, which are looking so wonderful. It's going to be a really great harvest this year. Now we're here at the vegetable garden, and I can show you some things I'm really excited about. Up in front here we have some hardy annuals. We have Love in a Mist, which depending on the sun could probably bloom tomorrow, I'm guessing from the look of these buds. Some larkspur, a later planting of Foxy Foxglove, and then some jalapenos. In this bed, I've got some banana peppers that I just recently put in, some onions. Here are my blue poppies. I was getting really afraid because when I put them in it was cold. Some of their lower leaves started to turn red, but I mulched them up a bit and now they're looking fine. I moved some dill back here that was growing under lights. And a fail for this year is Bells of Ireland. I started with probably 12 Bells of Ireland plants. I can't tell you what I did wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm really unhappy with what's going on here, and I think instead I'll try a fall planting in March and mulch them up good. But like I say, I don't think I can give you any advice on that. It was definitely a fail for me. These are our double click cosmos, which I pinched in a video, and they're looking great and bushing out from that pinch. You can see it there, just beautifully, doing wonderful. And in this pot I've just got some peas here and some lemon balm. The tomatoes have already put on so much growth since I planted them. And back here I've got my rocket snaps, probably about a week until they open up. Some kale, some lettuce, and some frosted salmon poppies. Back here I have Dara, which is really looking gorgeous, and I'm gonna get some support systems going probably this week for this Dara, for the snaps, and definitely for the cosmos. I'm probably gonna corral this year rather than net. This lettuce I planted from seed and no one's eating it. So I need to eat it. I'm yelling at myself. Some spinach, an eggplant, and some beautiful strawberries coming on. And now over here in this area is my Peach Passion sunflowers. And they took the frost and the freeze like champs, but I think it definitely set them back. And I'm definitely seeing a problem with one of them, and I will show you that. So if you have that problem, I'll show you how I handle it. Look at this. They're actually starting to want to bloom already. I do not want to see that. I'm going to go ahead and pinch that back. Oh, and it looks like an animal has been eating on this. Oh dear. I removed the netting about a week ago, and maybe I should not have done that yet. But this is a branching sunflower, so I can go ahead and pinch it. And they're not all doing that, just some of them. Very strange. And then over there in that bare corner, I have asparagus. Well, friends, I think that brings me to the end of the May garden tour. I sure enjoyed spending this time with you today. I hope you feel like you were a real guest in my garden, because that's what I'm always aiming for when I share any footage or tips that I've learned, is that you would just feel like a friend, that it would be therapeutic to watch my videos, and that it would bring you joy. And there's so much joy in growing flowers from seed. To grow these taller varieties for the sole purpose of cutting them is just a wonderful thing. So I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be sharing my garden all throughout the season. I'm going to be doing all kinds of floral design work. Any kind of questions you have about pests or diseases, just ask me those kinds of things in the comments. As one master gardener said to me, if I don't know the answer, I probably know someone who does. And so what a wonderful community, the gardening community, sharing and helping each other, and just being so thankful for the Lord's creation. Well, until next time, happy gardening. Bye.